Welcome to Beyond the Closing Table. I'm Michael Martin, and I'm here to interview top producing real estate agents, mortgage lenders, and business owners. We're going to learn about their successes, their setbacks, and all kinds of things that they have to be able to share with us that we can put into our businesses now. So, this is our very first podcast. I'm very excited to welcome my first guest, Mr. Michael Terbet.
What's up,
Thank
buddy?
you so much for being here, buddy.
This is an honor to be here, man. This is awesome. This studio is big time.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. It has been a lot of fun building it. We have, you've certainly been an inspiration to me. You've had your podcast going on for a while. We've got 80 episodes or something
82 now.
Yeah.
4 years. Granted, I need a studio like this. This is big time.
Well, here's our first one. So very excited to have you here today. Excited to peel back the onion and really understand a little bit more of your history, what has helped you become the success that you have been in this marketplace. So I'm going to tell everybody a little bit about where you are currently as far as your volume. My understanding, right, you started in 2006 as
August
a real estate agent, right?
Yep.
And prior to that, in 2002 to 2006, you were a coach, right?
College basketball coach.
When I introduced you, one of the things I forgot to say is your nickname, which is AKA, right? Superterb and AKA Coach Terb.
Yeah.
And so you have a coaching background. We're going to get into more of that as we progress because I think that's been a big part of your success too. But as far as your real estate career and everything, so you've been doing this for 16 years. How many is it?
18 years.
18 years, that's right.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
And so you're right now, you've been averaging over the last few years about $30 million, around
give
50,
or take,
60 closings of your personal production.
Production. Our goal this year with the Terb team is 30 million, and we're right there.
Okay.
So
that's
it's
great.
Exciting.
Yeah, I remember you told me just a few days ago that if you close everything that's in the books, you're going to hit that goal. So very, very exciting. And so you also are part of a bigger team, right? So a lot of people in this market certainly know your mom and her name, Ida Terbet.
Yes.
She's one of the first agents I met 20-some years ago when I first got in the business.
She's a legend.
She is.
I mean, I'm blessed in that she's not an amazing business person, but my mom, kind of going back to what you were saying on the intro, is I never thought I'd do real estate a day in my life. I always say that when I do any consults. I said punishment as a kid was looking at houses. So we moved here in Raleigh in 1986 when I was 7. My dad came here. We moved because my dad was a pilot with American Airlines. They opened the hub in the late 80s. Mom went right to real estate in 87 and just had instant success with her work ethic. So growing up, like going to houses, measuring homes, I was around it, but never thought I'd do it 1 second in my life. So when my son says I'm not going to do real estate, I just kind of, okay.
Yeah, interesting story on my side too. My mom was a real estate agent for 30-some years. I grew up in Alexandria, Virginia. My dad was a builder, architect, developer, and so I kind of never thought I'd do either one of those. Then I went to college and was like, maybe I'll become an architect. I learned there's no way. I don't have an engineering brain at all. That would not work. And sure enough, here I am in the mortgage side, right?
Yeah.
23 years later in this business, and did not expect it all to be in it. My daughter also says she'll never do this. Yeah. I doubt that she would, but
you never say never.
But you never know.
Never say
That's
never.
Exactly right. So, excellent. So why don't we talk a little bit about, so I've grown a team over the years, right? Mm-hmm. When I first got in the mortgage business, I was an individual loan officer learning how to just learn about guidelines, learning how to do loans, and then learning how to find out where to get loans from. And then eventually I had a mentor that taught me about teams. And so I started creating a team probably 2004, and got into, so it's just a couple years in, realizing I wanted to do a lot more business and wanted to scale that. I actually got out of, in 2006, I went to go work for a company where I actually led a sales force and did not produce. So I stopped that piece of it. And then the world changed in 2008, and I got back into production and then decided I wanted to grow a team again. So we'll talk maybe a little bit about that. But you kind of started on a team, right? Because your mom already had one. How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, like Prior to that, I was coaching. I was at a small school in Arkansas, Ouachita Baptist University. Prior to that, my undergrad was at Charlotte with Coach Lutz. I was a manager there. They helped me get my foot in the door. I wanted to be a Division I head coach. I mean, that was my dream. But went out to Arkansas and had an amazing experience there with my boss, Charlie Schaaf, who I'm still texting with today. He's, matter of fact, now in insurance.
Oh, wow.
But just really helped me. He just taught me a lot. Have thick skin. I don't like losing, but it helped me with responsibility. Then my wife and I met in school. We moved to Arkansas. When she decided to move to Arkansas, I knew I had to propose. But in 2005, just was a revelation. Is like, value of life. Do I want to move 5 times in 5 years to chase this job, this dream?
Sure.
But I was like, no, I want to be closer to our family because my wife's parents are in Charlotte, just north of Charlotte, and I wanted them to be around our kids someday. And I was like, I'll just go do real estate. How hard could that be? Right? I mean, I'll just come home, join the team. And
in 2005 or 6?
This was 06.
Yeah.
So this was, we moved home in April. We closed on our first townhome in Bedford in May of 06. Got my license, luckily passed the first time because I'm telling you, there's pressure when you're Ida Terbet's son in real estate school. They just think like it's like, I may know Michael Jordan, but still got to learn the game.
Yeah.
And passed on the first time, and then I went right to school, but I had no clue what I was doing. So yeah, I was a member of the team, and of course, we know what happened about 18 months later, so it was learning by fire at that point.
Funny story too. So I worked for a bank when I first started in the mortgage business, so I didn't have to get a license. Then I went to leave to go work for this other company that was not a bank, it was a mortgage bank, and I had to get licensed there too. And I remember my boss said to me, he goes, listen, man, you don't have to pass this thing on the first time, but if you don't, I'm going to ride you forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I was like, okay, of course I passed, but
yeah.
I've had to take the
I try to tell
3
people when they're
times
studying now, it's just learning how to, now, I don't know what it'd be like now, but I know back then, it was just learning how to take the test.
Yeah.
Because you could eliminate 2 answers right away with how and I remember this when they had the CD-ROMs, and just taking practice test after practice test, and I remember when I passed the state exam, I just ran out. I don't even know, it just said pass. I just remember running out of there, and
Yeah.
And here we are. But yeah, so, and then our team was very large at the time.
So you joined a team in 2006, your mom's team,
Yes.
right? So what was your role when you first came on board?
Well, when I first came on board, when I was getting my license, I was mom's chauffeur. I mean, which was good. I mean, I was helping in the office. I was going on listing appointments with her. I was watching her interact with clients, really preparing homes to sell. I mean, that was back in the day when we actually had inventory. And really just seeing how just the problem solving and directing and leading, and then in the office trying to learn every facet there, whether that's putting listings in the computer, marketing, brochures, contract to close, just trying to be a sponge because there's so much that goes into it.
Sure.
And then when I got my license, I was taking duty. I was doing open houses, still working today, but I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted then.
Yeah.
So, I was in my sister Colleen. She joined the family team 2 years prior. She was in banking prior.
So she had joined in 2004.
Yep.
And then
She was a branch manager BB&T right down the road.
Yeah.
Now it's a Starbucks, where that spot was.
Oh, yeah, right here.
But yeah, I mean, I remember telling her, she was the first person I said when I was coming home. So she had to keep it a secret from my mom for a few months because I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag yet. So yeah, so it's been a...
So what did mom say when you were like...
She was in shock. I mean, I think her first fear, though, was supporting me because she just felt like, I don't know if he knows what he's getting into.
Sure.
And obviously, we're moving back to Raleigh, and she didn't want to feel like, I hope this works out.
Sure.
But I will say working with the family is interesting. We're able to do it. I have a lot of friends in the business that could not work with family. We have a very, very tight bond. Not only family, but then being able to be there together every day it's been cool.
When I graduated college, I came back home and worked at restaurants in the evening, but I worked for my dad during the day.
Yeah.
And that didn't go over very well.
Yeah.
There's only a few months where okay, this is two
Yeah.
hard heads like going up against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so that did not work out. I think some people can't do that. My wife actually worked with me for 3 years in the mortgage business, and it worked great for me. She was ready to get the heck out of there and go back to...
You can only see Les and I working together for...
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's talk maybe about the team dynamics now. So you're a producer. Obviously, your mom's a producer. You guys have a few other producers. And then what's the support staff look like?
Yeah, so we have we had 3 full-time admins. They're all licensed. One took another job, so we're in the process of trying to find another marketing director, listing coordinator. But they're amazing. We couldn't do what we do. We have Lauren Setzer, Katie Vaughn, Amy Lakeston Rubini was actually in Katie's position. Now Amy works with me, but on the listing side. But again, it's important that they're all licensed because they're handling files, they're talking to clients. But we could not do what we do without them. Lauren handles everything from contract to close. She's basically our office manager, keeps us in line. Katie, and then the soon-to-be next person we hire helps get everything ready in the computer, MLSs, marketing. Don't want to leave out our couriers too. Jim and Bonnie, we just hired Jim. They're the ones that go out and put stuff in the houses, our booties, and little things that you take for granted, but it's time. And so everybody is spoke in a wheel, and without that, we do not roll.
Yeah.
So that's our admin, and then we've got just great people that we work with whether that's photography, measuring the homes, and they're extensions of us, even though they're separate companies.
It's just listening to you think or list out all these different things and jobs that these different people have to help you guys close, $70+ million as a team together. You think about new agents that kind of come on and want to do everything by themselves. Now, if you're going to close a few transactions a month, or even maybe, a year, I don't know what the average real estate agent, it's not very many.
The average agent in the country closes less than 4 homes a year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's almost 50% of agents a year ago that didn't close a house.
Sure.
But a lot of people have a license to have a license. I will say I don't think it's very challenging. You got to learn how to take a test, and then you'll get in. But it's a matter of, there's a reason why 87% of agents don't make it to their second year. Yeah. Because you wake up every day unemployed.
Yep, that's right. It's one of the things I tell our clients when we're in the process, as we're working towards clear to close. And I'll literally say, so if you could do us a huge favor, if Terb has done a great job for you, after you close, he's unemployed again.
Yep.
So who do you know that he can, list their house or sell their house, or help them buy a new house or whatever. So that's a really important piece of it, right? Is making sure that you're constantly prospecting.
That's it.
Because you can worry. I think it's such a normal transition for a real estate agent, a mortgage lender, or probably a lot of different business owners in general, right? Because this podcast is not just for real estate people, it's for business owners. I'm excited to have some really cool business owners on. But at the end of the day, if you're not making sure that people know about you to be able to come in the door, you could work on the client, and then you got to find another client, right? And so prospecting, let's talk about that actually. We'll transition to that. What do you do to make sure that your prospecting occurs so that you don't have big spikes like most agents?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I just did a one-on-one meeting with one of our newer agents, Cindy, and she's just battled. And I tell anybody that's coming into the business, you're not a hunter, you're a farmer. Yeah. Probably the first year of your business. And it's frustrating. Yeah. Because you want success. But without planting those seeds, you're not going to have a crop. And you just can't take a spear and there's no food. Yeah. So on the prospecting, we kind of go back a little bit with an agent that if they needed to say, what would I do? If I'm just starting out, is I would find a team to join. Someone that has something set up, a very good business model with great culture, good people, and somewhere for you to learn. Yeah. Because now you're hitching on to, like, if you look at the experience just with my sister, my mom, and I, you're talking 75 years of experience right there. Yeah. And we're still learning every day. I mean, every deal is different. But if I'm a new agent coming on board, I'm wanting to just be a sponge. I want to be around people. I want mentorship, as well as those listings that we have or units that we have, or the properties, now they're yours. There's no I hate saying I, it's ours. So that way you learn, and then you decide where you go from there. Prospecting, it's a daily thing. I've got to get, I'm my harshest critic. We can be doing it every day, and there's different forms of that prospecting. But again, going back to why the average agent only does 4 homes in a year is they get a transaction, they get a home sold, and they're so excited. And then they take that next 30 to 45 days, scheduling the inspections, the closings, negotiating repairs, because we're doing that again now. Mm-hmm. You're so involved with that one deal, but what are you not doing? You're not thinking about tomorrow's business. Sure. And so that's where Lauren helps us too, from contract to close, where she assists our agents. It's a non-negotiable. If you get someone under contract, Lauren's going to help you. That was the hardest thing for me, was to let go of that, because we want you working towards that next client of yours that you can help buy or sell.
Yeah, there is no question, right? Having a team allows you to focus on really the biggest part of that, like rainmaking, right?
And
Go
real
ahead.
quick, I mean, prospecting's also changed.
Yep.
You know, because we come from a back in the days like, go on the phone, 50 calls a day, 100 calls. And I get that. Like, there's nothing wrong pounding the phones or calling people or following up with past clients. But I think you have to learn prospecting also is through video text messaging, social media. There's so many ways to do it that you feel comfortable where you're actually touching people. I think the most important thing if you're starting out, it's the face-to-faces. You know, I have agents now, they want to take their business to the next level or just start getting that consistent business. You've got to get involved with groups. You've got to get involved, going to lunches, and letting people know what you do so they become your cheerleaders. You want to bring them on as part of your team to help you grow and not be afraid to ask for that.
So what does your daily prospecting look like today?
Yeah, so we have a perfect work week, or we try to have a daily theme of who we're touching a day, and so then we block that time, whether it's in the morning or afternoon. Usually, I look at on a Sunday to see where I am on my schedule. But it's important to have the time to whether it be an hour. I have short attention span. Like if I see squirrel, I'm going. So I got to have in the right mindset. Usually, I'm standing up making calls. And so each day we have a theme, whether we're calling preferred, people that are helping us grow our business, whether that's business owners, past clients. Then we have today's my favorite day. It's our current client update call day. So Jordan's helping me with that. Jordan's my right-hand woman, as I call her. I mean, God bless me when she came into my life, just because I was really learning how to grow and delegate. And it's amazing to watch her take off. So she's helping with our, we make it fun. It's your Tuesday update with Terb.
Yep.
Everybody knows. It's just letting them know what's going on. Everybody's got something going on differently in that transaction, whether they just listed their home, maybe we're under contract, we're waiting on inspections, maybe we've got everything agreed upon, we're just waiting to land. We're circling the runway, we want to land. But they love it because we just want to make sure that their experience with us is the absolute best, because at the end of the day, we want raving fans. And how we get most of our business is through warm referrals and past client referrals, good friends. Because you can call anybody. The average person knows 5 agents.
Sure.
And that goes back to us. We can get into this later about being a brand and being your own person. Then we have lead day, then we have past client day, and then new business day. So it's just a matter of being on a consistent system or process. Because if you don't have that, that's where you just kind of stare at the wall. And I always say I have this on my wall: process over the scoreboard. Because you can still do everything right on a daily and not get that deal, and you get frustrated. But as long as you're knocking out those things on a daily basis, that process, it's kind of like Nick Saban, man. When he was coaching at Alabama, love watching that documentary. He didn't worry about the scoreboard. Now, he had really good players, don't get me wrong, but he did not worry about the scoreboard. He knew if they did what they're supposed to do daily in practice leading up to the game, they're going to come out on top.
And they did a whole lot.
A lot.
Yeah. You and I have known each other for probably close to 10 years now. I don't remember exactly what year we met.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there, maybe a little less than that. I was involved in a coaching program for a few years before we met. As I got to know you better, and we started to do a little bit of work together, and you invited me to some events that you were doing with the Top Producers Council, and then I was able to share more about my coaching program that I was involved in to you, and you ended up getting involved in that too. For me, that coaching program, right, changed my entire life and business, right? I am. I'm going to talk a little bit about some failures, and then we can talk about maybe how that turned around in success. I mentioned earlier I got in the business in 2002. My income went up every single year. I bought a pretty expensive house in 2007. Of course, it was 2007. Yeah, right. May of 2007, and then basically my company that I worked for filed bankruptcy and closed down in August of 2007. And so I kind of felt confident. I remember my boss said, "You're feeling really confident about buying this house right now." I'm like, God has provided, to this point. I can't imagine he decided to humble me and teach me a pretty good lesson. And so we struggled from 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, all those years were really, really tough for our business. Although 2011 was my personally roughest year. I made less money in 2011 than I did my first year in the business. And unfortunately, I was not great with my finances. And so I had some savings and I had some 401ks. And unfortunately, we went through majority of that. Now, I did own 3 real pieces of property, so I had some equity in properties. but we were basically able to live off of the little bit of income that I had. My wife worked for me at the time, so that was not helpful. Finally, she ended up getting another job with an advertising firm that people she knew before, and then I ended up dealing with, again, tough years, and learned hard lessons, went into a lot of debt, and then met this coaching program, the core training that you and I know very well, and literally took me from, having very minimal net worth, which was almost all in equity and homes, to fortunately having a fairly significant net worth now. It's made the biggest world of difference. Taught me how to make money. It's a lot easier to save money if you can make a lot of money. Yes. That's for sure. It taught me how to save money, and then certainly, taught me how to give away to very important charities that are important to me. If I'd like to know what that company, what the coaching that you earned, because you came from a coaching background beforehand, I'd love to know how that coaching impacted you and your life and your business.
I think if I could go back in time, but I wasn't ready mentally or, for where I am now or what I want to accomplish. But I think hiring a coach is the best thing you can do when you're starting out, because, or anytime. But I was kind of reluctant because it costs money.
Sure.
And we're afraid to spend money, and it makes sense because you don't, it's scary. And I hired my first coach in 2018, and his name's David Kesey. And I owe everything.
I remember you talking a lot about him.
A lot to David, and then my mentor, and I still message him today, is Tim Stout. He works with David, and I saw David on a Facebook ad, and they just connected with me. He's a former baseball player. He worked with I think Mike Ferry, and he started his own thing. And where David helped me was to get uncomfortable in marketing, social media, video, and helping create ubiquity. And I didn't know what even that word meant.
Why don't you share what that means?
Yeah, the ubiquity is the idea you're everywhere. And so with that, what does that mean? That's, videos, tips. I still want to be the mayor of the town. I want people to text me on where they should go to a doctor or accountant or restaurant. And that it just really helped me grow.
The connector. It really when you become the connector, you're important to people, and therefore you have influence at the end of the day, right?
And so he just helped me tremendously, and to be quite honest, that's where the Who You Work With Matters came from. This is my mentor, Tim Stout, down in Georgia, man. He's south of Atlanta. Guy's a rock star, and former UFC fighter. I went down to shadow him, and he fought with me for about 4 seconds, and I was good, But he said, "Who you work with matters," and it's not like it's
kind of his tagline.
Yeah, originally? It's not like it's patented or anything. I said, "You mind if I say that?" Because when I was doing video, it was very important to always start the video with your name, finish it with name, and if you have something at the end, great. Tagline. And he's like, "I don't care. It's not my market. Plus, it's not like it's copyrighted." Sure. It's funny now though. Is like there'll be different companies, Home Light,
all the time,
and people will text me like, "Oh my gosh, they're using your line." I'm like, okay. Yeah. But I think that's great.
I remember seeing it in a video, in a commercial, and I recorded it and sent you.
Home Light's in it. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And so, but it's great. And so then, but I was missing at that time was systems.
Yeah.
And that's when you introduced me to the core. And I, now I got a daily regimen and it was hard. Now I will say this about the coaching you pick is, when you were at the core, you better have a thick skin, and you better be competitive, and you better be ready to work.
Sure.
And that was great for me. And it helped just grow. But I think it also helped me learn how to hire, delegate, and grow. And that's how I met Jordan, because I just needed someone to help me with my day-to-day, my CRM, my stuff that I'm not good at. And then now I'm with B Coaching and Consulting with a lot of former coaches that were at the core. They've started their own coaching company, and it's been great there. Mike Wood's coaching me right now. Chad Lubin's involved. Ben Wilson, people that are just instrumental. And I went to my last conference here in Nashville just a month ago or so, and it was interesting because there's times when I'm like, I don't need coaching. I don't need it. I know what to do. I'm fine. And the first thing, and Jay Fletch, amazing agent out of Minnesota, and he's one of the principals and founders of Being Coaching and Consulting. He leads off the conference, and it was almost like God's talking to me. He's like, I want to take two. There's sticky notes on the table. I want to take one and write fear and faith. Are you leading your life in fear or in faith? And I'm like, holy crap. Because if I operate in fear, I'm going to bail.
Yeah.
Now in faith, this is what's going to happen. Because the hardest thing is we can't control everything. And in our business, we want to do that. And so learning how to detach yourself from the outcome or a business, or just got to do the best you can. But coaching's been amazing. I'm going to stay in coaching. Eventually, I want to coach. Sure. I was a basketball coach. I have that coaching mindset. I coach our agents on our team. I think the hardest thing in our business, though, is everyone has different levels of what they want to achieve. And like right now, I'm putting together my 25 business plan, and part of that's my vision. I have a vision, but I really want to get it dialed in. And one thing Chad has done an amazing job is also reaching for the stars. You dream big, but you also want to make it where you can grab it too. But I think the vision, I want to make that more clear, and then being able to help lead our group. But do you have some agent that we find doing 12 units a year, and
Sure.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see how we get you there. We're really diving into the 12-week year right now, trying to make things more on a micro scale and how to accomplish that, because we all want to lose 20 pounds or we want to make $100,000, but you just don't get there. You got to learn how to do that. So I'm dialing in. I'm really excited about 25 and what I want to accomplish. And I think in this business that I tried to, I just had, like I said, a one-on-one meeting with Cindy, and there's no ceiling in this business.
No.
There's no sky. There's no no limit.
Well, that's one thing that the core did for me. And I'm sure I've shared this story with you, and I know you've personally experienced it. There is no ceiling. However, you kind of feel like if you're doing X amount of volume or X amount of income, you kind of feel like you're a big deal. Like I can tell you when, I was one of the top producers in my office, and back in 2014 or 15 when I got involved in the core, and I felt like, I was doing really well. And then you go to an event like that, right? And I remember sitting the first time I ever went, I'm sitting at a bar at, I think it was the JW Marriott in, it's either Scottsdale or Phoenix, and sitting there with these two guys that, actually three guys. I want to say they're all from Denver, and each one of them made well over $1 million that year, well over. Some of them $2 or $3 million. And I was like, they're loan officers, maybe branch managers. It's producing loan officers underneath them. How is that even? I never dreamt that was possible, right? And so the course showed me a way to make that happen, and to grow. And certainly, but it is all about creating a team, right? It's about allowing you to focus on the most important thing, which is lead generation and lead conversion. Those are the things that you've got to focus on, and I've got to focus on almost all the time.
And leveraging.
Yep.
And that's where I'm still learning. And I think I remember Tim Stout told me this, and I wanted to hire my first assistant because I was tired of going to inspections and open up doors, and there's nothing wrong with that. At the same time, I know where I'm good and what I need to be doing. And he said, Terb, the pool's only, you think it's 12 feet deep. It's only 2 feet deep. Just take a step. And I'm like, you know what? And he's like, it's only a 90-day trial anyway.
Yeah.
Let's just see what happens. And I'm like, oh. And then, because the first thing you're going to do is hire somebody, you're like, oh my gosh, are they going to have stuff to do?
Yeah.
They're going to be staring at me. But what's so cool, though, about that is building that culture together and having that vision together. And I think that comes from my coaching background. I hate saying I. And I still say it.
Sure.
Got to say we.
Yeah.
And people, we all have the same goals, and it's fun to watch. And my old boss, Coach Schaaf, amazing head coach. But I'll tell you what, you did not lose. I've never. He was an amazing coach, but he was also, he'd tell you what he's thinking.
Sure.
And you worked hard for him. But at that level or any level, people are aspiring to get to that next height, next stop.
Yeah.
And so finding a great assistant, probably similar to a great agent or someone on your team, they may be aspiring to other things, but what Coach did is there's people who go to him and say, hey, people say, how do you have Terb here for so long? Like, what you doing? He created ownership of the program, and that stuck with me. He told me that you have to create ownership of the program for the people that are helping you and helping each other.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Meaning that, yes, the Michael Martin Group or Terbet Group's on the door, but I want them to have ownership of that as well.
Within the team.
Yeah, and I want to have that. I want them to have input. I want them to have
Well, it's like you said
goals.
earlier, each one of them is a spoke on the wheel, and you don't turn without all of them.
I want them to have their lane. That was hard for me, and it's because I want to go. Like, it's, for example, I remember the very first deal, Lauren helps me from contract to close, and I remember I see everything because we get the Terb team email, and the contracts come in, or not contract, but like an inspection, and I'm so quick to be like, oh, let's call. And I'm like, okay, well, she's got it. Got it.
I hate to say I still do that sometimes.
And you're just
not very much anymore. But I still, because one of the things that I get to do is I still get to make the clear to close call. Like I had one right before this podcast, right? So I call the buyer's agent, listing agent, and get to congratulate them.
Yeah.
We're set and ready to go. We're not closing for a week or so, but everything's done and ready. But that's a fun call for me to make.
Great call, yeah. It's just easy to you're involved, and so learning that process. But I want them to come with me with ideas, and I want them to go take their lane, what they're good at, and let's roll. As far as they're an extension of me, and we're doing it the right way. And
you said it there too. I want to interrupt real quickly because this is something I talk about with my team all the time. We run something called EOS, which is Entrepreneur Operations System, and there's a whole level of meetings that go along. There's a weekly, a quarterly, a annual meeting. In a flow. The whole point of EOS, and at the end of the day, is to identify issues within your organization. We all have them. Most companies just ignore them, right? And then you have to deal with the same thing over and over again. The goal for EOS is to really bring the issues to the forefront of the table, and every week we're solving those issues so we never have those challenges or issues again. Now, one of the things that I tell my team, right, and very vocal about this is, I'm certainly not and should never be the only one creating or finding the solutions to problems, right? We all have to do that. Everyone on the team has got to constantly come up with, there's no bad ideas. Let's discuss them. Yeah. We can certainly go, okay, that won't work, but maybe this will. But if you truly want to get better every single day, right, which is what you as a coach learned, right? You want your team to get better. I want my team to better. I know you want the Terb team to get better, or the Terbet group to get better. Then you have to discuss those things and be real about it. I ask my clients for feedback all the time, right? My agent partners, I ask you, hey, Terb, how do we do on that closing? Anything we could have done differently or better, right? Because if there's something that you notice from a different angle than I see, right, then I got to make sure that we're getting that information so we can basically elevate the team, continue to elevate the team to create, as you said earlier, raving fans. Yeah. One other thing I want to make sure we discuss before we wrap up today is you use the term, and you use this tagline all the time, who you work with matters. I literally have told people, I copy that from you all the time, and I share people because it really, really does matter. Not to say that you don't want to give your cousin who just got their license an opportunity, but that person has no clue what they're doing. And I totally agree with you that a new person that's getting in the real estate business should absolutely join a team. You can learn from everyone's mistakes, not just your own, right? That's another thing we talk about with issues here is when someone makes a mistake on my team, and this is really tough for newer people because they feel like maybe they're going to get fired or get in trouble or something. I never expect anyone to not make mistakes. But what I absolutely need you to do when you make a mistake is own it. Yep. Let's find the solution and share it with everyone. And that makes people nervous. Well, I don't want to share my mistakes. No, you have to share your mistakes because there's no reason that person needs to make the same one. Let's all learn from those things. I'm sure as heck going to share with you all the nasty mistakes that I make, and I've made a lot of them in the 20-some years in this business. But who you work with matters is brilliant. You and I have talked about this other piece that I like to say is pros love working with pros. Yeah. Tell me what that means to you.
I can't tell you. So it's funny how you say that. After every game, we'd go watch tape. And I used to tell my boss, used to always tell our team, and I would tell my teams I coach, is good teams learn from losing, great teams learn from winning. And be able to go back and watch the tape and see what we can do to get better. And if you do make the mistake, if I made a mistake when I was coaching or whatever, I'm more coach would... he would tell me, he's like, you know what I love about you, Terb, is, you know, if you make a mistake, you just don't repeat it. Like, that you learn from and move on. But, you know, who you work with matters is so far in depth. And as far as on the real estate side of it, and especially in this market now, or as we've been in such a competitive market, I can honestly say that we were able to help clients get homes because of the relationship with that agent. Or back when we were getting, and we're still getting multiple offers now. But I know another great, for example, we're doing a deal with an agent right now, Adrian Zudaquest, great agent, multiple offers. Jordan, I see that it's the listing. I text her from the press box because I'm the voice of the Wolverines too.
Yeah.
And I see that it's her listing. So I just text Adrian and say, hey, let's do a deal. Like, I'm pumped to work with you. And she gave me a heart emoji. And I say, I just feel like it goes far enough to when they roll up, if an agent rolls up and sees the Terbet Group sign, they know that it's going to be a great experience from beginning to end, or if we bring an offer. But it also extends further than that. For example, you and I, not only were we great friends off the floor, but on the floor, I know our clients are going to be taken care of because you're an extension of us. I've had other lenders I've worked with where, you know, or we've had lenders that, you know, they may be great at the front, but then their communication drops off during the transaction. So who are those clients doing? They're calling us, and I have nothing to do with that side of it. But I know if someone, you do a deal, like, I know, like, you call me and be like, hey, man, we're waiting on this, that, and the third. I'm like, well, I know it's all gonna work out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even sweat it. It goes back to your inspectors. It goes back to your, attorneys, Jason Isley at Midtown Property Law and Angie Turner. Like, I've done Angie's been our paralegal since I've been in the business. They're amazing, and they take care of our clients. So it's just important when you're thinking about buying or selling, probably your biggest investment in your life. You really need to look at who you're working with, and I think so much of what I pride ourselves on is just our communication, the relationship we build. We're not perfect.
Sure.
You know, there's different things that people may like, others that gravitate to you to work with somebody else. But I think that's the biggest thing is that, then also really building on that relationship. I think the stat is, I don't know the stat exactly, but if you ask somebody at the closing table, the percentage,
like 80% of people
they'll say,
would
I'll
work with
use
their
it,
agent
and it's like 15% do.
Yeah, because they never follow up with
But
it.
I will tell you, it's so cool the amount of clients that I'm selling. You sell the homes multiple times now, and it's years have passed, and we take a lot of pride in that because they're not only friends. Like walking in today, I'm sending out 375 text messages about our pie event we're doing for Thanksgiving. So it's just that stuff. But the who you work with matters is just exactly how it sounds.
You know, as we kind of close this out, I did want to mention the piece of where we talked about who you work with matters, or pros love working with pros. If you're a real estate agent, right, or a mortgage lender, or whatever you are in your business, you want to elevate your game, then you've got to make sure you're working with partners that are also elevated, right? I think that's really what we're saying here is that if you're working with semi-pro, right, people, then your business can only be semi-pro level. And so you've got to surround yourself by absolutely pros to make sure that your client it gets and receives that pro level experience.
And what did they say? You're the 5 people you hang out with?
Yep.
So it's like when people ask me, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but when people ask me how the market is or how things are going, or I only know one way. And that's, is this tough business? Heck yeah. Do you have to have a thick skin? Yeah. I mean, you get deals fall apart 60 hours before closing, and you've got to go face to face and sit down with your seller to say a deal just fell through out of my complete control. I called you on
Sure.
that. I drove to go sit down with my client because it's important to us. But then there's a lot of highs, there's some lows, but at the end of the day, it's great. And then it's about putting yourself, if you're an agent listening to this, associate yourself with other great agents. I've talking about other coaches. Phil Puma down in Charlotte, North Carolina, is one of the best dudes I know. And he's an amazing coach, but talking about how he grew his business, I mean, he went from 5 million, 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, because he learned how to delegate, and you got to be coachable. And the biggest thing is you got to get uncomfortable.
Yep.
You got to get uncomfortable. And that's what the conference told me just a month or two ago, is that I got to get back to being uncomfortable to help take that next step.
Well, you get comfortable going through those things, and then you don't feel like you have to get uncomfortable again.
Yeah.
But then you have to continue to grow, right? When you work out, you're constantly stretching those muscles; they get sore, and you've got to be able to continue to get uncomfortable as you want to grow as well. So, I just want to thank you so much
Yeah,
for
this has
taking the
been
time
fun.
today. All right, we're completing our very first podcast, so very excited to have you here. For those of you watching, I want to say thank you for taking the time. Please be sure and subscribe. Be sure to share this, folks, with other folks that you know that are either real estate agents, mortgage lenders, or business owners. We'd love for you. And if you know anyone that's thinking or would like to potentially be a guest on our podcast, be sure to let me know that too. We're going to be looking for incredible folks just like Michael Terbet here in the future. So thank you so much. Appreciate your time.